There is one ancient law hidden in the Kabbalah for over 2,000 years that the rabbis say holds the secret to effortless wealth. Most people will never hear it, and those who do often misunderstand it completely. But if you truly grasp what I'm about to share with you, you'll never look at money the same way again. You'll stop chasing it and start magnetizing it. Because the Kabbalists knew something that modern society has forgotten. Money doesn't come from effort. It comes from alignment with a divine flow that's been moving through this universe since before creation itself. The world still worships struggle. We were raised to believe that the harder we work, the more we deserve. That wealth is earned through sweat and sacrifice. That those who rest are lazy and those who grind are virtuous. But the ancient Jewish mystics, the ones who devoted their lives to understanding the hidden mechanics of creation, they discovered something radically different. They found that abundance is not a reward for labor. It's a consequence of spiritual alignment. And once you understand this law, once you truly internalize it, lack becomes impossible. Not because you'll work harder, but because you'll finally stop working against the current. For centuries, Jewish mystics have taught that wealth isn't external. It's a reflection of your internal vibration. The Zohar, the foundational text of Kabbalah, describes a concept called Shefa, the divine flow of abundance that cascades from the Ein Sof, the infinite source, down through every level of reality until it reaches us here in the physical world. Picture it like this. Above all creation, beyond time and space, there exists an infinite reservoir of light, energy, and substance. The Kabbalists call it Ein Sof, which literally means without end. From this source, everything that exists flows downward through 10 divine emanations called the Sefirot. These are not just abstract spiritual concepts. They are channels, pathways through which divine energy descends into our material world. And at the bottom of this cosmic ladder, here in what the Kabbalists call Malkut, the kingdom, the physical realm, we receive whatever we are vibrationally aligned to receive. But here's what most people don't understand. Shefa doesn't flow to everyone equally. Not because God plays favorites, but because most of us unconsciously block it. We block it with fear, with doubt, with the belief that we must struggle to earn what's already being offered freely. The great Kabbalists, the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Isaac Luria, the Ari, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, they all understood this. They taught that poverty is not a punishment. It's a disconnection, a misalignment between your consciousness and the source of all supply. And the moment you realign, the moment you step back into harmony with the divine current, abundance begins to flow through you as naturally as breath. Think about a river. The water flows endlessly from the mountain to the sea. It doesn't stop. It doesn't tire. It doesn't question whether it deserves to flow. It simply moves according to its nature. Now imagine placing a dam in that river. The water doesn't disappear. It's still there, pressing against the barrier, waiting. But it cannot reach you. This is what happens when we live in fear, in scarcity consciousness, in the belief that we are separate from the source. We become the dam, and no amount of hard work can remove a dam. Only a shift in consciousness can. The Talmud tells us that before a child is born, an angel teaches it the entire Torah, all the wisdom of creation. But just before birth, the angel touches the child's lips, and the knowledge is forgotten. Why? So that we can spend our lives remembering, rediscovering what we already know in our souls. And one of the deepest truths we've forgotten is this: we are not beggars in the universe. We are heirs. The divine flow of abundance is our birthright, but to claim it, we must stop acting like orphans and start acting like children of the King. I want to pause here for just a moment, because what I'm sharing with you isn't just information, it's activation. As you listen to these words, something inside you is already beginning to shift. Your soul recognizes this truth, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. So right now, I invite you to do something powerful. Go down to the comments and type these words. I am a channel for divine abundance. Don't just read it, feel it. When you type that affirmation, you're not just engaging with this video. You're declaring your intention to the universe. You're opening yourself to receive. And here's the beautiful part. The Kabbalists teach that when we make a declaration with pure intention, the heavens respond. So go ahead, type it now. I am a channel for divine abundance, because once you make that declaration, you've already begun the process of realignment. And if you're serious about going deeper into these ancient Jewish wealth codes, I want you to check out the link in the first pinned comment below. It's a free guide called 15 Jewish Wealth Codes, Enrichment Strategies of the Jewish People. This isn't some modern self-help book. These are the actual principles that Jewish families have used for generations to create sustainable generational wealth. Principles rooted in Torah, Talmud, and Kabbalah. The link is right there in the first pinned comment. Grab it now while you're thinking about it, because by the time this video ends, you're going to want to implement what you learn immediately. Now let's go deeper. The Kabbalists teach that there are invisible laws governing this universe, just as real as gravity, just as predictable. One of the most powerful is the law of correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. Whatever exists in your inner world, your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotional state, must eventually manifest in your outer world. This is not metaphor. This is metaphysics. The Zohar says that thought is the beginning of all creation. God thought the world into existence, and because we are created in the divine image, we too create through thought. Not by wishing, not by hoping, but by holding a thought with such clarity, such faith, such emotional intensity, that it impresses itself upon the fabric of reality and begins to take form. Most people think randomly. They wake up worried about bills, so they think about lack. They see someone else's success and feel jealous, so they think about scarcity. They work hard all day and come home exhausted, so they think about limitation. And then they wonder why their life looks exactly like their thoughts. The universe isn't punishing them. It's obeying them, because the law of correspondence doesn't judge. It simply mirrors. When you think poverty, you create the conditions for poverty. When you think abundance, you create the conditions for abundance. This is the secret the rabbis kept hidden, not because they wanted to hoard it, but because they knew most people wouldn't believe it. They'd rather blame the economy, their boss, their circumstances, anything but their own consciousness. But you're different. You're here because something in you knows there's more. You're ready to take responsibility not as a burden, but as power. Because the moment you accept that your thoughts create your reality, you also accept that you have the power to change it. Right now, today, this very moment. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov taught that joy breaks all barriers. He said that sadness, depression, worry, these are not just emotions. They are spiritual blockages. When you're in a state of worry, you literally cannot receive the flow of Shefa. It's like trying to pour water into a bottle that's upside down. The water is there, the source is endless, but you're not in position to receive it. Joy, on the other hand, opens you. It expands your capacity. It aligns your vibration with the divine frequency of abundance. This is why Jewish tradition is filled with celebrations, with singing, with dancing. It's not just cultural, it's technology. Spiritual technology designed to keep us in alignment with the flow. The Baal Shem Tov used to say that a small hole in the body is a big hole in the soul. What did he mean? He meant that physical lack, poverty, illness, these are symptoms of spiritual disconnection. They're not punishments, they're feedback. The universe is showing you, through your circumstances, where you are out of alignment. And the cure isn't more effort, it's more awareness. It's returning to the truth of who you are, a divine being created in the image of the infinite, with unlimited creative power flowing through you every single moment. Now I want to share with you one of the most practical Kabbalistic practices for activating the flow of abundance. It's called the practice of Hakarat Hatov, which means recognizing the good. In English, we call it gratitude, but it's so much deeper than that. Hakarat Hatov is the spiritual discipline of training your mind to see the blessings that are already present. Not just the big ones, but the small ones. The breath in your lungs, the roof over your head, the meal you ate today, the fact that you can see, hear, think, move. When you practice Hakarat Hatov, you send a signal to the universe that says, I already have abundance. And because the universe mirrors your dominant vibration, it responds by sending you more reasons to be grateful. This is not positive thinking. This is quantum alignment. The Kabbalists understood, thousands of years before modern physics, that observation affects reality. What you focus on expands. When you focus on what you lack, you create more lack. When you focus on what you have, you create more abundance. It's law, and law doesn't care about your excuses. It only responds to your vibration. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you start worrying about your to-do list, take 60 seconds. Just 60 seconds. Close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and say, Mode Eni Lefanecha, I give thanks before you. Then list 3 things you're grateful for. Feel them. Don't just recite words. Feel the warmth of gratitude in your chest. That feeling, that frequency, is the key that unlocks the gates of Shefa. The ancient rabbis knew this. That's why the very first prayer a Jew says upon waking is a prayer of gratitude. Before asking for anything, before doing anything, we give thanks. Because gratitude is the foundation of all abundance. But gratitude alone is not enough. The Kabbalists teach that we must also give. This is the principle of Tzedakah, which is often translated as charity, but really means righteousness or justice. In the Kabbalistic understanding, when you give, you're not doing someone a favor. You're participating in the cosmic flow. You're becoming a channel. Think of it this way. If you want water to flow through a pipe, the pipe must be open on both ends. If one end is blocked, the water stops. The same is true with abundance. If you only receive and never give, you block the flow. But when you give, even when you don't feel like you have enough, you signal to the universe, I trust the source. I know there's more coming. And that trust, that faith, that act of giving, it opens the channel wide. The Torah tells us to give 10%. Masa. A tithe. And here's the remarkable thing. The Torah uses the word test in connection with tithing. Test me in this, says the divine, and see if I do not open the windows of heaven and pour out blessing until there is no room to contain it. This is the only place in the entire Torah where God says, test me. Why? Because giving is the ultimate act of faith, and faith activates the law. Now let me be very clear. This is not about giving to get. That's manipulation. That's spiritual materialism. The Kabbalists warn against it. When you give with the intention of receiving, you're still operating from lack. You're still in the competitive mind. But when you give from a place of overflow, from a place of joy, from a genuine desire to participate in the circulation of abundance, then you align with the divine flow. And the flow responds, not because you earned it, but because you opened yourself to it. Let me tell you about a student of the Baal Shem Tov. He was a merchant, and he was struggling. His business was failing. He had debts. He had a family to feed. He came to his master and said, Rebbe, I have nothing left. What should I do? And the Baal Shem Tov said, give Tzedakah. The man was stunned. He said, but Rebbe, I just told you, I have nothing. How can I give? And the Baal Shem Tov smiled and said, You have nothing because you've stopped giving. The flow has stopped because you've closed yourself. Open the channel again, even if it's just a small coin, and watch what happens. The man didn't understand, but he trusted his teacher. So he took his last few coins, and instead of buying bread, he gave them to someone in need. And within a week, an opportunity appeared. A contract he thought was lost came through. Money he was owed suddenly arrived. Within a month, his business turned around completely. Was it magic? No. It was law. He shifted his consciousness from lack to abundance, and the universe, which is always listening, always responding, mirrored that shift back to him in physical form. This brings us to the heart of the Kabbalistic understanding of wealth. The principle the rabbis call emunah, which means faith, but not faith as belief. Faith as knowing. Faith as the substance of things not yet seen. The Hebrew word emunah comes from the same root as amen, which means so be it, it is firm, it is established. When you have emunah, you don't hope things will work out. You know they will. Not because you're delusional, but because you understand the law. You understand that your thoughts, your beliefs, your vibration, these are the seeds. And every seed contains within it the blueprint of the harvest. All it needs is time, soil, and the right conditions. Your job is not to force the seed to grow. Your job is to plant it, water it with gratitude and faith, and then trust the process. The Kabbalists teach that there are 4 worlds: Atzilut, the world of emanation, pure divine light; Bariah, the world of creation, where thoughts take form; Yetzirah, the world of formation, where energy becomes structure; and Asya, the world of action, the physical realm where we live. Most people only see Asya. They only believe in what they can touch. But the Kabbalists knew that Asiya is the last world, the final expression of a process that begins in the invisible. Every physical thing you see, the chair you're sitting on, the device you're watching this on, the money in your bank account, it all began as a thought in Bariah. It took form in Yetzirah, and finally it manifested in Asiya. This is the secret of creation. If you want to change your physical reality, you cannot start in the physical. You must start in the world of thought. You must go back to the beginning, to the seed, to the image, and you must hold that image with such clarity, such faith, such emotional conviction, that it begins to descend through the worlds until it finally appears here in the physical. This is not wishful thinking. This is the mechanics of manifestation as taught by the greatest Jewish sages for thousands of years. Now, I want to share something that might challenge you. The Kabbalists teach that there are 2 types of consciousness: the consciousness of exile and the consciousness of redemption. In exile consciousness, you believe you are separate from the source. You believe you must fight for survival, compete with others, protect what little you have. In this state, you see the world as a zero-sum game. If someone else wins, you lose. If someone else has wealth, there's less for you. This is the consciousness of Mitzrayim, Egypt, which in Hebrew means narrow places. It's the consciousness of constriction, of limitation, of fear. But there is another way, the consciousness of redemption, the consciousness of Gula. In this state, you know you are one with the source. You know that the same infinite intelligence that breathes the stars into existence is breathing you. You know that there is no lack in the universe, only in perception. In this consciousness, you don't compete. You create. You don't take. You channel. You don't fear another's success. You celebrate it, because their abundance proves that the flow is real. And if it can reach them, it can reach you too. This shift from exile to redemption, from Mitzrayim to Gula, this is the inner meaning of Passover. It's not just a historical event, it's a spiritual template. Every one of us is called to leave Egypt, to leave the narrow consciousness of lack, and enter the promised land, the expanded consciousness of abundance. And here's the key. You don't have to wait for external circumstances to change. You can make the exodus right now, in this moment, by changing your mind, by choosing to see through the eyes of faith instead of fear, by aligning your thoughts with truth instead of appearances. Let me be very practical for a moment. If you want to activate the Kabbalistic law of abundance in your life, here's what you must do. First, every morning, before you do anything else, spend 5 minutes in gratitude. Say the Modeh Ani prayer, or simply speak from your heart. Thank the source for your life, for your breath, for the opportunities that are already on their way to you. Second, give Tzedakah, even if it's a small amount, even if you think you can't afford it. 10% of whatever you earn, give it away, not reluctantly, but joyfully. Because when you give, you declare, I am abundant, I am a channel. There is more where this came from. Third, refuse to speak words of lack. The tongue has creative power. The book of Proverbs says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. When you say, I can't afford it, I'm broke, I'll never get ahead, you are speaking curses over your own life. Stop it, immediately. Replace those words with words of faith. I am provided for. Abundance flows to me easily. The universe is conspiring in my favor. Fourth, visualize. The Kabbalists call this Hit Bonanut, contemplative meditation. Every day, close your eyes and see yourself living the life you desire. Don't just think about it. See it, feel it, hear it, smell it. Make it so real in your mind that your body begins to respond as if it's already happened. Because in the world of Bariah, it has. You've created it in thought. Now you're giving it permission to descend into form. And fifth, act. This is crucial. Faith without action is dead. You cannot sit at home visualizing wealth and expect a check to fall from the sky. The universe works through people, through opportunities, through inspired action. When an idea comes to you, when a door opens, when you feel nudged to reach out to someone, do it. Don't hesitate. That nudge is the voice of the divine guiding you toward your manifestation. Trust it. Move with it. The Kabbalists call this hishtadlut, effort. But it's not the effort of struggle. It's the effort of partnership. You do your part, and the divine does the rest. And this is where I want to invite you into something deeper. Because everything I'm sharing with you right now, these principles of Shefa, of gratitude, of giving, of faith, they're just the beginning. There are layers upon layers of ancient Jewish wisdom that most people never discover. Strategies that Jewish families have used for centuries to build wealth, to protect their resources, to create legacies that last for generations. And I've put together something special for you. It's called 15 Jewish Wealth Codes, Enrichment Strategies of the Jewish People. This is not fluff. This is not theory. These are 15 specific actionable principles taken directly from Torah, Talmud, and Kabbalah that you can start applying today. I'm talking about things like the principle of Shabbat economics, how rest creates wealth, the concept of brashot, blessings, and how they literally change the molecular structure of your reality, the strategy of Shevra, community, and why isolated individuals struggle while connected communities thrive. All of this and more is waiting for you in that guide. And it's completely free. Just go to the first pinned comment right now, click the link, and download it. I promise you, by the time you finish reading it, you'll see money, work, and success in a completely different light. The link is in the first pinned comment. Go grab it now. Now let's talk about something most people get wrong. Action. The world teaches us that success comes from hard work, grind culture, hustle, sacrifice, sleep when you're dead. And look, I'm not saying effort doesn't matter, but the Kabbalists understood something that modern culture has forgotten. The quality of your effort matters far more than the quantity. You can work 80 hours a week and stay poor if your consciousness is misaligned. Or you can work 20 hours a week and become wealthy if your vibration is in harmony with the flow. It's not about how hard you work. It's about how aligned you are while you work. The Torah gives us a powerful teaching about this. It says, 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work. Now most people read this as a rule, a commandment. Don't work on Shabbat or you'll be punished. But the Kabbalists read it as a revelation, a secret about how creation actually works. For 6 days you act, you plan, you build, you move. But on the seventh day, you rest, you stop, you release. And in that stopping, in that sacred pause, the universe completes what you began. Shabbat is not just a day off. It's a spiritual technology. It teaches you that you are not the source of your supply. God is. And when you rest, when you let go, when you stop trying to control everything, you make space for the divine to work on your behalf. This is why so many Jews throughout history, even in the face of persecution, poverty, and exile, have remained wealthy. Not all of them, of course, but disproportionately, statistically. Why? Because they practiced Shabbat. Once a week, they stopped. They reminded themselves that they are not alone, that there is a source greater than their own effort. And that reminder, that act of faith, it recalibrated their vibration. It realigned them with the flow. And when they returned to work on Sunday, they worked not from fear, but from rest. Not from lack, but from overflow. And that energy, that vibration, it attracted opportunities, wisdom, favor, and success. Now I know some of you are thinking, but I'm not Jewish. Does this still apply to me? Absolutely. The Kabbalists teach that there are 70 faces to the Torah, 70 levels of interpretation, and one of those levels is universal. These are not ethnic secrets. These are cosmic principles. The law of Shefa doesn't check your lineage. It responds to your vibration. If you align with the principles work for you. Period. Jewish wisdom has been preserved for thousands of years, not to be hoarded, but to be shared, to be a light unto the nations. That's the whole point. So yes, whether you're Jewish or not, these laws apply to you. Because they're not cultural. They're universal. They're written into the fabric of reality itself. Let me share a story. There was a man, a Gentile, who lived in a small village in Eastern Europe. He was desperately poor. He had heard that the Jews in his town seemed to do well, even though they were a minority, even though they faced discrimination. So one day, he approached a Jewish merchant and asked, "What's your secret? How do you always have enough?" The merchant smiled and said, "I'll tell you, but you have to promise to do exactly what I say for 1 month." The man agreed. The merchant said, "Every week, no matter how little you have, set aside 10% and give it to someone in need. Every day, say thank you out loud for 3 things. And 1 day a week, stop working completely. Rest. Pray. Spend time with your family." The man was skeptical. He thought, this won't help. But he'd given his word, so he did it. The first week was hard. Giving away 10% when he barely had enough felt impossible. But he did it. And something strange happened. By the end of the week, he had exactly what he needed. Not more, not less. Just enough. The second week, the same. By the third week, he started to feel different, lighter, more hopeful. And in the fourth week, an opportunity appeared. A man offered him work, good work, well-paying work. Within 3 months, his entire life had changed. He wasn't rich, but he was stable, comfortable, at peace, and he never stopped the practice. He tithed, he gave thanks, he rested, and for the rest of his life, he never lacked again. Was it the practices themselves? Or was it the shift in consciousness that the practices created? The Kabbalists would say both, because practice and consciousness are not separate. They're two sides of the same coin. This is the power of what the sages call tikkun, which means repair or alignment. Every time you practice gratitude, you repair your connection to the source. Every time you give, you align with the flow. Every time you rest in faith, you allow the divine to work through you. And over time, these small acts compound. They build momentum. They shift your baseline vibration. Until one day, you wake up and realize, I'm no longer the person I was. I no longer think the way I used to think. And because your inner world has changed, your outer world has no choice but to change with it. Now let's go even deeper. The Zohar teaches that there are 3 levels of awareness. Nefesh, the animal soul, concerned with survival, comfort, and physical needs. Ruach, the emotional soul, concerned with relationships, meaning, and connection. And Neshama, the divine soul, the part of you that is literally a piece of God, infinite, eternal, and completely unlimited. Most people live their entire lives at the level of nefesh. They're focused on paying bills, avoiding pain, seeking pleasure. There's nothing wrong with that. It's human, but it's also limiting. Because at the level of nefesh, you will always feel lack. There will always be another bill, another fear, another threat. The nefesh can never be satisfied because its nature is survival, and survival is based on fear. But when you rise to the level of neshama, everything changes. At the level of neshama, you are not a body trying to survive. You are a soul having a temporary physical experience. And the soul does not lack. It cannot lack, because it is connected to the Ein Sof, the infinite. At this level, wealth is not something you chase. It's something you channel. You become like a tree planted by streams of water. You don't create the water. You simply receive it and allow it to flow through you, producing fruit effortlessly, naturally, abundantly. The Baal Shem Tov taught that the way to access your neshama is through dvekut, which means clinging or attachment. Not attachment to things, but attachment to God, to the source, to the infinite. When you practice dvekut, you remind yourself throughout the day, I am not separate. I am one with the divine. This breath is God's breath. This thought is God's thought. This action is God's action moving through me. And when you live in that awareness, even for just moments at a time, you step out of the consciousness of lack and into the consciousness of infinity. And in that space, miracles become normal. Provision becomes effortless. Abundance becomes your natural state. Let me give you a practice you can start today. It's called the yichud, the unification. Several times throughout your day, pause, take a breath, and whisper, either out loud or in your heart, Ein od milvado. There is nothing but God. Everything I see, every person, every circumstance, every challenge, every blessing, it's all God. It's all the one infinite intelligence expressing itself in infinite forms. When you do this, you dissolve the illusion of separation. You step out of exile consciousness and into redemption consciousness. And in that moment, you are wealthy. Not because your bank account changed, but because your perception changed. And as your perception shifts, your reality will follow. Now I want to address something important. Some of you might be thinking, this sounds too good to be true. If it's this simple, why isn't everyone wealthy? Great question. And the answer is this. It is simple. But simple is not the same as easy. Changing your consciousness requires discipline. It requires consistency. It requires faith when everything around you is screaming that it's not working. Most people give up too soon. They try gratitude for a week, and when they don't win the lottery, they say, "See, it doesn't work." Or they give tzedakah once and then stop because they're afraid they won't have enough. But the Kabbalists teach that this is a path, a journey. The Hebrew word for Torah, which means teaching, comes from the root word yara, which means to flow or to guide. The Torah is not a destination. It's a river. And when you step into the river of divine wisdom, you don't arrive instantly. You flow. You move. You're carried. But you must stay in the river. You must keep practicing. Keep believing. Keep aligning. And over time, the current carries you exactly where you need to go. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov said, "The whole world is a very narrow bridge, and the main thing is not to be afraid. Life will test you. Circumstances will challenge you. There will be moments when it looks like nothing is working, but that's when faith matters most. That's when you must hold the vision. That's when you must keep giving, keep thanking, keep resting, keep trusting. Because the universe is not testing your worthiness. It's testing your commitment. It's asking, do you really believe this? Or are you just hoping? And here's the beautiful part. Every time you choose faith over fear, every time you choose gratitude over complaint, every time you choose giving over hoarding, you strengthen your spiritual muscles. You build your capacity to hold more light, more energy, more abundance. The Kabbalists call this expanding your clay, your vessel. You cannot receive what you're not ready to hold. If your consciousness is small, your life will be small. But as your consciousness expands, your capacity expands, and the universe, which is infinitely abundant, will fill whatever vessel you bring. So the question is not, does this work? The question is, am I willing to do the work? Am I willing to change my mind, my habits, my words, my beliefs? Am I willing to step into the unknown and trust that the invisible hand that's been guiding me my whole life will not abandon me now? And this brings me to the final piece, the piece that ties everything together. The Kabbalists teach that the highest form of service is joy. Simcha. Not happiness that depends on circumstances, but joy that flows from the soul. Joy that says, no matter what's happening around me, I know who I am. I know where I come from, and I know that I am held, guided, and provided for by an infinite source of love and abundance. When you live in that joy, you become magnetic. People are drawn to you. Opportunities find you. Doors open that you didn't even know existed, because joy is the frequency of the divine, and when you vibrate at that frequency, you attract everything that matches it. This is why the Psalms say, serve the Lord with joy, come before him with singing. It's not a suggestion, it's instruction, it's technology. When you worship, when you work, when you live with joy, you align with the highest vibration in the universe, and from that place, everything flows. So here's what I want you to do. Right now, as you're listening to this, I want you to make a decision. Decide that from this moment forward, you are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are a creator. You are a channel for divine abundance. You are a child of the King, and the King's treasury is open to you. Decide that you will practice gratitude every single day. Decide that you will give, even when it feels uncomfortable. Decide that you will rest, even when the world tells you to grind. Decide that you will speak words of faith, even when fear whispers doubt. And decide that you will hold the vision of your abundant life with such clarity and conviction that the universe has no choice but to deliver it. And I want to help you on this journey, because I know that knowledge without application is useless. You need tools, you need strategies, you need a roadmap, and that's exactly what I've created for you. The guide I mentioned earlier, 15 Jewish wealth codes, Enrichment Strategies of the Jewish People. It's not just theory. It's a complete system. It walks you through, step by step, how to apply these ancient principles in your modern life, how to structure your finances according to Torah wisdom, how to create a Shabbat practice that recharges your spiritual battery, how to use blessings, brashot, to sanctify your money and multiply your resources, how to build a shivra, a community that supports your growth and your abundance. All of this is waiting for you. And it's free. I'm not selling you anything. I'm offering you a gift. Because the more people who step into abundance consciousness, the more light there is in the world. And we need that light now, more than ever. So go to the first pinned comment, click the link, and download your copy of 15 Jewish wealth codes right now. Don't wait. Don't put it off. The fact that you're still watching this video tells me you're ready. So take the next step. The link is in the first pinned comment. Go get it. Now let me close with this. There's a teaching in the Talmud that says, "Who is rich? The one who is satisfied with their portion." At first glance, this sounds like a call to settle, to accept mediocrity. But the deeper meaning is profound. It's not saying you should settle for less. It's saying that true wealth is an inner state. It's the ability to look at what you have right now in this moment and say, this is enough. Not because you're giving up on your dreams, but because you're at peace with the process. You trust that more is coming. You know that the flow is real. And from that place of sufficiency, of gratitude, of peace, you become a magnet for more. This is the ultimate Kabbalistic secret. Abundance is not a destination. It's a vibration. And you can step into that vibration right now, not when you have more money, not when you get the promotion, not when you find the partner or buy the house. Right now, in this breath, in this moment, you are abundant because you are alive, because you are aware, because you are connected to the infinite source of all that is. And from that knowing, everything flows. The money, the opportunities, the relationships, the peace, the joy, all of it. Because you're no longer chasing, you're channeling, you're no longer begging, you're receiving, you're no longer in exile, you're home. So take a deep breath. Feel the truth of these words settling into your bones. You are not separate from the source. You never were. You never could be. The same intelligence that breathes the stars into existence is breathing you. The same energy that flows through rivers and grows forests is flowing through you. And the same abundance that fills the universe is filling you. Right now. Always. Infinitely. Ein od milvado. There is nothing but the one. And you are part of that one. Therefore, you are whole. You are complete. You are abundant. Not because of what you have, but because of what you are. And now, before you go, I want to invite you one more time. If this message resonated with you, if something shifted inside you as you listened, then do 3 things. First, go down to the comments and type, "I am aligned with divine abundance." When you do that, you're not just leaving a comment. You're making a declaration. You're sealing your intention. Second, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's struggling, someone who's forgotten who they are. Because when you give this gift, you're participating in the flow. You're becoming a channel, and the universe rewards channels. And third, make sure you grab that free guide. 15 Jewish Wealth Codes, Enrichment Strategies of the Jewish People. The link is in the first pinned comment. This is your roadmap, your practical guide to implementing everything you've learned here today. Don't let this moment pass. Don't let this energy dissipate. Take action now while the fire is still burning. And if you want to make sure you never miss another teaching like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell. Because I'm going to keep sharing these ancient secrets. these hidden principles, these keys to abundance that the sages have guarded for thousands of years. And you deserve to know them. You deserve to live them. You deserve to thrive. So go. Take what you've learned, apply it, live it, and watch as your life transforms. Not because of magic, but because of law. The law of Shefa, the law of alignment, the law of divine abundance that flows through all things at all times to all who open themselves to receive. May you be blessed. May you be prosperous. May you walk in the light of infinite abundance all the days of your life. Amen.